Day of December 2024. It is a Junior Friday, ladies and gentlemen. Good morning. Why are you watching us from? Yes.
I was just going to be like, Stan, countdown. We need the countdown. How many days?
20 days, finally. I think now from tomorrow we're getting into sub 20. It's going to be 19.
Next week I'm going to be so excited.
Yes.
Be like 2 weeks.
Yes.
Yeah. I'm Shiksha Arora. Good morning. This is the Morning Cafe Show. Thank you for watching as always. And we hope that you've had an amazing start to your day. If you've just woken up, rise and shine, because we're going to be serving you coffee that's actually hotter than your morning coffee.
Bonjour and good morning. Welcome to the program. My name is George Maringa. Delighted that you've joined us. The fantastic trio. Delighted to bring you this episode of Morning Cafe right here on TV47, the home of untold stories. You can find us at TV47 News at
TV47 Kenya. That is on Facebook, @Nyaringita_.
And yours?
At Shiksha Arora.
At George Maringa _. Use the hashtag Morning Cafe. We have a lot lined up for you as we serve you the hottest breakfast on Kenyan television.
Absolutely.
Yes, definitely. As you can see, the smiles this particular morning depends on how your Spotify Wrapped looks like for this particular year. Mine was just chilling, some soul generation and some amapiano, some very good vibes.
Okay.
That probably means that I probably had a good year. How about you?
So I had some Ira Star, some Rema, and some house music.
Ooh, okay.
I've now become a fan of house music. I know our director, Nick, is also a huge fan of house music.
That means you're just
So I'm sure, yes, you know, you just feel the music. You're not singing much, you're just feeling the beats, feeling the vibes. Yeah, quite a year. What about you, George?
I had a lot of Johnny Drill.
Okay.
Yes, and I also went big on West African, but also the hill songs of this world and everyone else, yes.
So gospel music.
Gospel music, yes. Let me tell you, we are ending up the year. You gotta be very nice.
This year, by the way, we needed God's intervention.
I'm telling you.
2024 was one of those years where if you did not believe in God, if you're an atheist, I don't know how you survived, honestly.
Yeah.
You needed some spirituality and some religion to guide you through the obstacles that we encountered throughout the year.
It was one of those years.
Absolutely.
Yes, definitely. And about 2047 is our SMS number. WhatsApp number 0793 267 279. Tell us, how does your Spotify Wrapped looks like? So that we also just see how your year has been.
They can actually tag us.
Yes, please.
On the socials, right?
Yes.
Absolutely.
So that we're able to see
We post and just give you a shout out as well later on.
Yes, it's going to be a very, very busy morning for you and conversations that really matter for you. First off, on State of the Nation conversations, it's a very, very busy political country. And George,
yes,
going to be having this gentleman.
We've got a learned professor, Professor Fred Ogola, governance expert, not new to Kenyan faces and Kenyan screens. We'll be talking about a State of the Nation. We've also got Wilson Susion, former Secretary General NAT and former Member of Parliament, as well as Kasim Tandaza, MP, that is Member of Parliament for Matuga constituency. State of the Nation from just about 6:30 a.m. to 8 a.m.
Yes.
All right, let's take a look at what's happening at 8 to 9. This actually is quite an important topic, Stan and George. Let me tell you why. Because I'm currently experiencing the same thing where your nails are weak, you know, your nails are actually peeling, breaking. You hit your nail on the wall, you just touch your nail, and guess what, it comes off. So yeah, I'm glad that Janet Mwangi, CEO, Jada Kenya, is going to be coming and telling us about the common nail problems and how to fix them. We don't realize how important our nails are, but imagine we need healthy nails to be able to have a healthy ecosystem, because a lot of the bacteria actually goes into your skin through the nails when you don't have healthy nails.
Okay.
Yeah, sometimes when your nail bed is missing, it is not healthy for you at all.
So even for gentlemen, this is a conversation that you really, really need to chime into. When she says that, send me money for nails, you're wondering, why do you need so much money for nails?
Doing nails is so expensive. A minimum of 5,000 shillings, and it could go up to 15,000 shillings.
You can also ask for up to where are we supposed to,
Yes.
chop them.
Yes.
So obviously you're not supposed to chop them too much. They're supposed to be just above your tip of your finger.
Okay.
So the top of your finger, so make sure you're not chopping them way below that, because then that leads to, pain.
Pain,
It's very painful, and you're wondering, why would you subject yourself to pain like that? Willingly. Don't do
Then
it.
also, yes, and also even filing them. Definitely stick around for that
Do
conversation.
you guys do manicures?
I don't know.
No? No?
Sometimes yes, sometimes no. It depends also with the budget.
yes.
By the way, see you, Mama. Just letting you guys
it's
know.
just about when you're dragged.
Yes.
Oh.
Yes, and you're given subtle comments like,
Interesting.
your nails.
Your nails look fantastic. Stan, let me see. Oh, amazing.
Yes,
The gentlemen here have great nails. I'm happy to note.
yes.
Also, today is World Soil Day. Now, get this, over 95% of the food that we have comes from the soils.
Yes.
So that definitely means this day is a very, very important day. We're going to be discussing this with Dr. Abed Kiwia. He's a program officer and soil scientist at AGRA. Stick around for that. The theme is caring for soils.
You can ask him about that, measure, or rather that policy you were told that you have to get your soil tested before you go, farm anything. Yeah.
Yes, that's true.
Yes.
Because that's why our food products sometimes are rejected by some markets, like the
Absolutely.
Kentucky Fried Chicken, KFC,
Yes.
and others, and the
Like the potatoes
specifications.
especially.
The potatoes,
Yes.
yes.
Just
There is an
because of our
issue with
soil.
sometimes with the soil and the quality of soil when it comes
Quality
to
of soil.
farming, which actually does not meet international standards. So that's a good question, George. Yeah.
Yes. Actually, the theme is caring for soils, measure, monitor, and manage. A quick look at the headlines locally as well as in Uganda as well as Tanzania. Just a review of them. We'll be back to take a look at the Kenyan dailies. The Standard, they say, now you'll realize that even for the Kenyan dailies, the face and the name of President William Ruto is very, very synonymous. On the Standard, Ruto's angry tone and new megaphones. Wow.
Interesting.
Yes.
All right, let's take a look at the next one. That is a Daily Nation that says, Shah equipment plan cartel-like, says House team. All right, senators have questioned the legality of the multi-billion shilling contract signed between counties and the national government for lease of medical equipment amid revelations that governors had no choice and were kept in the dark regarding details of the agreements, including the identity of suppliers. So we're going to be seeing more of that on page 4. And as you can see as well, bargains galore as 5-day Nation Shopping Festival starts. That's very interesting.
Yes.
A picture right there of what this particular festival entails as we count down to Christmas.
Yes. On Business Daily, now listen to this. Electricity consumers face new levy for street lighting. We'll be back to take a look at what this particular levy means for you and if that is going to be increasing the electricity bills. On the front page of the Star, George, matters ODM here.
Matters ODM, orange men take the bullet as Team Ruto goes missing. Once staunch critics of the president, now his mouthpieces. Just similar to what we've seen on the Standard.
That's the People Daily. Ruto's new court jesters. Raila's foot soldiers get out of the trenches and turn into president's fiercest defenders after joining government. That's on page 4.
Yes.
Of broad-based and other matters.
Kwenye gazeti la Taifa Leo sema serikali ilitukaba shingo ni magavana. Magavana 47 mnakabwa je shingo lakini.
Daily Monitor taking a look at what's happening in Uganda. They wanted to kill me. And these are the words of Justice Esther Kisake, who actually fled the country recently, sheds light on the issues making her lose sleep, including threats to her life, delays in hearing 3 petitions that she filed regarding, among others, formation of a tribunal to handle her case and government refusal to let her retire. Hear that?
Yeah.
That's
And
on page 4. Exactly. And this is something that happened in July 2023, where she received yet another report of an imminent threat to her life, and then she fled the country for fear of her life. And those are the words of her lawyers.
Yes, it's interesting how Daily Monitor since Monday up until today have given prominence on matters law.
Judiciary and law.
Yes.
And human.
Let's get into Tanzania now, and this is the front page of the Citizen. They say the standard gauge railway, as well as the Julius Nyerere International Airport, link to be a game changer, with industry players saying the move will significantly improve passenger convenience. And you'll always realize how the Citizen gives out very, very positive news. When you look at the Kenyan dailies, I don't know which one has a very positive news this morning. But, well, Tanzania, they're looking at the papers and they're smiling.
Right, so since September, they've actually managed to generate a revenue of 16.695 billion Tanzanian shillings in revenue. And they say that 645,421 passengers have used the SGR services by September. So that is quite interesting. It's operating.
Did you notice the airport just looks like ours, just
Yes.
separate from NNK?
Yes,
JNN,
it does.
JKI, so
It does. So the SGR is actually currently operational between Dar es Salaam and Dodoma via Morogoro, with over 200 cargo wagons expected to arrive in the country this month. The connection will definitely enhance both the passenger and cargo transport in line with Tanzania's broader infrastructure goals. So good news there for Tanzanians.
Yes. Something else that you rarely see on the front page of the Citizen matters politics. The former Prime Minister, retired Joseph Warioba, was speaking yesterday, and it is on the front page of Gazeti la Mwananchi, George.
Gazeti la Mwananchi, Warioba atoa angalizo tena, mizengwe vurugu kwenye uchaguzi, and also polisi ilivyonasa wadaiwa wa utekaji.
Yes.
Na vile vile mikoa 8 kwenye hatari ya mvua kubwa. Seems Shiksha, the rains are not only in Nairobi.
Everywhere.
8 more are they provinces really? Divisions are about to
be affected.
Be affected.
Now, do you remember this particular story of how this gentleman, his name is Tarimo.
Yes.
So for a whole hour, these 3 gentlemen were trying to abduct him.
I saw the video on social media.
Yes, and they failed.
Yeah.
Because
miserably
of
because of his strength.
Yes, and his
should ask him what he was eating. Yeah, in Kenya we say that he's eating ugali. What was he eating there?
Okay. Well, in the Gazeti la Mwananchi, we'll be back to take a look at the Kenyan dailies and the cartoons. Let's go to the weather for you just to know how things are looking like.
Right, in Nairobi, 16 degrees with highs of 26 degrees expected. Currently, we are seeing a cloudy start to the day, but yes, we hope that it does clear up. When it comes to the precipitation and the amount of rain, 0.00 millimeters of rain expected today. So all smiles there as we gear up for the holiday. It's looking like the holiday weather is officially upon us.
Yes, it's officially upon us. Shiksha, you're really keeping up with this countdown.
I am. I cannot wait. The weather in Mombasa.
Or do you have plans of visiting the coast?
No, I do not. Unfortunately, it was too expensive.
But
you know what? Next year we'll plan in advance and not be Nairobians.
Yes, absolutely.
Well, in case you're planning to go to Mombasa, this is how it is looking like. It's going to be the highest temperatures for today, 31 degrees Celsius.
Yes.
Some thunderstorms in between the afternoon, but as high as 31, that's pretty nice as well. That is how it's looking like in Mombasa. In the northern part of the country, George.
Very, very hot because doing highs of up to 36.
This is Lodwar.
Yeah, this is Lodwar. Okay, this week, or rather today, that highs of 35, lows of 22, and then later on all the way to Friday, highs of 36. Still hot, as we did experience and we did see how the weather was yesterday. Seems Lodwar is going to be a very hot week.
So let's take a look at what's happening in Migori County. As you can see, feels like 18 degrees. But yeah, we are expecting a sunny day up until around 3 p.m., after which we see some showers from 4 onwards. So the afternoon onto the evening is looking like we're going to be seeing rain and thunderstorms. Precipitation of 2.3 millimeters, a chance of 40% of it to rain. So seems like that is the current situation in Migori. In Nakuru, Stan?
Finally, Nax Vegas. The highest temperatures you're going to be getting there is 25 degrees Celsius. It's clear blue skies in Nakuru. If you're planning some sherehe, you're definitely good to go today. It's going to be looking like that over the weekend. You're good there. That is how
Stanley, you've really given people a good preamble. It's just Thursday.
It's a Junior Friday.
Junior Friday. That's what Stan called it.
Yes, I never call it Thursday. It is a Junior Friday.
Okay.
Taking a look at, speak of matters preamble, let's take a look at what you do expect in our news diary, in our subsequent bulletins this particular evening. So first off, on matters health, today is going to be a very, very busy day for Kenya Union of Clinical Officers. Why? Because they're going to be marching first off to the Parliament and then to the Ministry of Health buildings and then also to the Social Health Authority buildings. They're going to be doing this to present petitions protesting the discrimination of clinical officers as well as the exclusion of the Social Health Authority. That, among others, our health desk is going to be preparing that for you. Happening at Kasarani Stadium today, Deputy President Professor Kithure Kindiki is going to be the chief guest for the 93rd graduation ceremony for the Kenya Medical Training College. That means that to expect quite a lot of traffic along Thika Road. They say this event starts at around 8 a.m., exactly 8 a.m. So between right now and actually by that time, do expect quite the traffic then. Something also happening today into our business desk, we're going to be telling you the National Treasury is going to be launching the Pensioners Self-Registration Portal. We're going to be breaking down what that means for you. Also, the Minister of Energy and Petroleum is going to be holding a press briefing just to give highlights of the Kenyan government collaboration with the East Africa Power Tool to hold the Regional Power Trade Conference, which is going to be happening next week. So something very, very major. This is going to be happening even as we wait to see if on the 14th of this month, well, the power, not the power, but then the fuel prices are going to be increasing or decreasing. And then also the electricity prices as well.
Thanks something to the street levy. Yes. That's what it's called.
Something also interesting that even as Cape Media, we're really keeping tabs on. So yesterday, the caravan for the Mzuka Fest began, and we definitely have pictures if we can probably have them, just so that you can get a feel. Yes, it is.
Entertainment as always when it comes to TV 47.
Definitely.
It's never a miss. Look at that. That's Ofweneke?
Yes.
Oh, and, shaking a leg. Or should I say shaking his waist?
The big boys of radio. The event is going to be happening on the 14th of December.
At Kisumu.
At Jomo Kenyatta Stadium, Mamboleo.
Very excited to see how that goes down with Kofi Alamide.
Right.
Listen to the sights and sounds of that particular launch.
They started in newspaper, the headline, Ruto's angry tone and new megaphones. Change of tack, it's hard being President Ruto, is what the Standard says. Pushed to a corner by those opposed to his government projects, his tone has been changing from a persuasive one aimed at mollifying his critics to open rebuke as he did on Tuesday. But he has now also gotten new allies who have changed their colors to become fiery defenders and amplifiers of his message. A full story on page 4.
Here we have Hassan Joha, Mining and Blue Economy CS, as well as Junet Mohammed, National Assembly Minority Leader, and a few words on what exactly they're saying. So this is a comment that I was talking about yesterday about what CS Hassan Joha actually mentioned. And he says, there are people at this very moment we are here, they're online. Mr. President, a country cannot be built online. It cannot be developed by those whose work is social media. I'm giving them notice. We also have mouths. If they poke us, we will respond. And so he's talking to the naysayers on social media.
But wouldn't it be ironical for the government to be pushing for internet coverage across the country?
Yes.
So that people can be online?
Yes.
And then the same government coming telling us, why are you online?
Why are you online? What are you doing online?
It's more of akisiasa.
Yes.
Because Junet Mohammed is also saying the government is elected, so it works for its citizens, but the government is being sanctioned because it has to ask for permission from Kenyans, civil society, judiciary, parliament, and religious organizations. When will the government work? Also, who put them in power?
Yeah.
Well, that
Good
is...
question.
I mean, when you're employed, Shiksha.
In the first place.
Yes, in the first place.
Who employed them?
Who employed them? They are accountable. I mean, everyone else in corporate, everywhere else, you're just accountable to someone.
Absolutely. So yes, remember he talked about evil spirits.
Yeah.
An evil spirit of opposing. That's what the president called it.
Yeah, there is also yesterday we had an conversation that is on page 6. The Tanzanian firm is on track to buy Bamburi. It's investing, is it about $400 billion?
Wow.
It's the big value is 23.59 billion shillings.
Yes.
And it's one of the issues that we saw are coming out as a good thing in matters investment, but then when the East African neighbors are seeming to take over what used to be the pride of Kenya at some point, I mean, where do you balance? Because is it, it could ideally be Kenyan investors who could be buying this, but also you also have the flood situation.
Yes.
On page 2, deaths and destructions as floods wreak havoc.
In 20 counties.
And on page 7, yesterday Stanley told us on the diary that the PS, Raymond Omolo, was going to issue a statement, which he did, and he spoke about why you should be vigilant this festive season.
Also, Namibia got its first woman president.
Yes, yes.
And that, must say, is a big story, especially because of the fact that we're in Africa. In Africa, these things do not happen very often, and the fact that it's actually happening is absolutely incredible. Her name is Nandi Ndaitwa, all right? And she is the conservative daughter of an Anglican pastor. She became vice president in February this year, and then, of course, she was declared winner last Tuesday after a disputed election, and she won with just over 57% of ballots, followed by the candidate for the main opposition, that is Independent Patriots for Change, IPC, with 25.5%. The election authority announced. So she is from Namibia's ruling party, SWAPO. That's what they are known as. So yes, congratulations to Namibia.
Namibia.
Yes.
But the democratic processes seem to be working, and in terms of how they also transition power. And he was also the vice president before the president died. Remember, the president of Namibia had died, and then now she also is going to take the helm. Congratulations to her.
Yes, most definitely. Namibia, show us your ways.
Yes.
On to the Daily Nation, something that we were also telling you about yesterday. It is the big headline there. Social Health Authority equipment plan cartel-like, says House team. Out on page 4, you'll read that the senators are describing the new deal as an opaque leasing scheme and a cartel-like arrangement, saying it has hallmarks of scandals. So just a context to the story, the contracts seek to supply medical gadgets to county-owned hospitals on lease terms under the National Equipment Service Project. And they have a photo there of Nyeri Governor Mutahi Kahiga, who, just to quote what they're saying, now this is what Kajwang was asking, how was the decision made and under what procurement law? How sure are you that the cost of running the equipment constitutes value for money, after admitting that the work of the county governments was just to pick the gadgets chosen by the national government? And many Kenyans will ask another question there. How is it that you are that number of governors and it's still an opaque matter?
Now, Stan, remember yesterday we were talking about the Ministry of Education and how they had actually shut down 348, ordered to shut down these 348 primary schools across the country. Now, MPs have actually urged the same Ministry of Education to reverse this closing, because they said that these boarding schools did not have enough time to comply with the regulations and these guidelines set by the ministry, and some have not even been inspected, but their names are there. This even as private schools lobby said institutions have been affected by this directive. They would ensure that their boarding sections meet the required standards just before the academic year that begins in January. So let's see what that story leads to and how that situation moves forward.
Yes, they said the decision was made out of panic following the deadly fire at Hillside in the Russia Academy in September. This is going to be right now, it's actually it's a big headache for parents. I mean, if you know your child is in one of the schools listed, what's the fate of your learner come
In
January?
state of paranoia, because as you said, they don't know the way forward.
Yes.
And the academic year is not far. We do know the new year is just around the corner. So
Yes.
what happens?
So-
in world news,
Exactly. Now that is
That
what I was
is
going
very
to.
interesting.
Yes, as you talk about paranoia, things are boiling. I don't know, nicely or
we
how?
don't know. We'd have to get, I guess,
South
some
Korea.
feedback, some views from South Koreans, because MPs have actually submitted a bill to impeach President Yoon Suk-yeol after he declared martial law before reversing it just hours later, and that triggered a political crisis. That is on page 25. So seems like he is set to be impeached.
So things are quite interesting over there in South Korea.
Korea.
Yes.
South Korea, of course, we do know that it has a huge power when it comes to electronics here in Kenya, because it is the owner, it is the home of Samsung Electronics. So we know that it has a very, very big impact on us when it
Yes.
comes to electronics and exports and imports as well.
Speaking of electronics, matters electricity here.
That's the Business Daily, George.
Business Daily, yes, the headline being electricity consumers face new levy for street lighting, and that comes because power costs to increase if MP's report is adopted. Consumers currently pay 7 levies in monthly bills. But have you ever taken time to look at
The
breakdown on the tokens?
Yes.
Have you ever taken time?
have.
I think I should.
Please do.
Yeah.
You will make some very interesting revelations, and if you have old messages, you can juxtapose and see where this is all coming from.
You will
Because
shower for less.
you shower for less.
Leave the lights on for a lower
amount of time.
duration of time. Absolutely.
Because electricity consumers will start paying a new levy for street lighting within the next 6 months if a new parliamentary report is adopted, putting in an additional cost burden on homes and businesses. So the National Assembly Committee on Energy has directed EPRA to introduce the street lighting infrastructural support levy in the monthly electricity bills. Shiksha, you're just nodding your head and shaking because you're wondering. Because if you look at it, the liabilities arising from a street lighting project in 2022, they rose all the way to 923 million, and in 2024, 808 million. And the levy looks set to trigger an increase in the cost of electricity in the tough economy already. And consumers usually often complain of steep power bills, which are partially due to idle capacity charges that compensate power generators for electricity.
But I mean, you can't really compare 2020. The entire country was in darkness. We're in the middle of a pandemic.
Yeah.
So why exactly do we even have the statistics there for 2020?
And what happened to solar? Because
Yes.
why do you have to have street lighting that is, hydro.
Absolutely. We can invest
power.
in solar,
Most
and we
definitely.
have hours on end of sunshine. So why can't we invest in that and just try and make use of that? But you know what?
Most
We
definitely.
shall ask the politicians who are coming in studio.
Plus as well, the Minister of Energy and Petroleum, remember, going to be having a press briefing today. Going to be making sure that the Minister of Energy tells us all this. We could take a look, because I know George will be taking a look at most of these headlines
Yes.
in State of the Nation. We had taken a look at this. I think we can get into the caricatures this morning and take a look at what they say. There's a time we were having
We
one
were
of the...
talking about social media,
Yes.
and that is Ali Hassan Joho, if I'm not wrong. And that is criticism. That's a ball that has been kicked by somebody who is a user of social media, of course, and it has kicked him in his face, and he has kicked it back. So he kicked the ball. He's the
Yes.
one who first
Yes.
kicked it, and then the social media
Bounced.
user bounced it back to him, to his face, and he's fallen on the ground.
There was a lot of back to sender on the socials.
Absolutely.
In the last 48 hours.
Uno reverse.
Yeah, reverse.
That's what it's called.
Yes.
Yesterday he was trending, as I said, on
Yes.
social media, on X especially.
So this I believe is the Standard. This is People Daily, Stano's take, and they're going with what was the headline
Yesterday.
on yesterday's Daily Nation.
It's a shell.
Yes, this common Mwananchi is asking and just wondering, with less than 3 years to the next general elections, this is a disaster. The vehicle that is supposed to be very, very
Steering us.
nice and steering us to the next general election, IBC is
broken down.
Broken down.
Yep.
There's no windshield, nothing.
The bonnet also is
Bonnet
open
engine
with
is-
an engine that doesn't look like an engine.
Yes.
It's empty right there. So there's no way
there are
to
no
move
wheels
forward.
on
There's
it.
no, so it's just parked. So yeah, this is the concern of a common Monanchi who says less than 3 years, the next general elections, this is a disaster.
And talking of concerns, you saw what Meg,
Whitman.
said before she exited.
Yes.
That it's that the embassy is actually concerned. Rather, they raised concerns that without the establishment of the IEBC, that could create a crisis. Newly signed defenders.
And
they're quite butched up.
Absolutely. There's an entire team of defenders right there with our goalkeeper.
Funny how they even adopted that very interesting color.
Yes.
The yellow, bright yellow indeed. Holding hands, they made a wall.
Yeah.
It's called the wall, the great wall of defense. Very interesting, I won't lie.
As a viewer, you can decipher who
is who
is who on this.
Even in the goalpost.
Yes,
In the goalpost.
Who that
the
is.
goalkeeper. That is on the star. This is Daily Nation.
It is better to return money from politicians than receive it.
Integrity 718.
I was just going to point that out.
On the holy book. Yes. They have this gentleman having that wheelbarrow.
Wheelbarrow, which is
Yes.
which is yellow in color.
And behind him, you can tell who that is. Right. And that is how things are looking like on the cartoons. I know you'd be back to take a look at them there.
Yes.
Let's take a look at how the traffic is.
Situation.
I had mentioned to you that along Thick Road, you might just experience quite the traffic this morning due to the graduation ceremony that is going to be happening at Kasarani Stadium. So let me just zoom out to this and see how the traffic is going to be looking like.
Okay.
Well, today is, it's 20 days to Christmas, so there might just be some movements.
So far,
yeah.
not so bad. Just that area right there, which
Just after KCA.
yes,
Yes, that's the after the Muthaiga roundabout.
Yes, after the roundabout.
Heading-
the snarl up right there.
Yes.
That bottleneck.
Yes,
Yes.
yes.
As you get
So let's say in case you're using this one, if you've never used that other pass, think
Please.
about your life.
Think about your life, the Professor Wangari Maathai Road.
Yes.
Yes.
Other roads this morning, let's take a look at Muranga Road, just
Muranga Road,
a bit of a snarl up.
Down there as well.
Where is that? This area, this entire stretch.
This is getting into the CBD. A lot of traffic. This should be the traffic lights, almost
Yes.
probably. Jogoo Road is looking clear this morning.
Well, aside from a few
Just a few patches here and there.
patches.
Other roads, well, others look quite clear this morning. Finally, Mombasa Road, are just Mlolongo here. On both sides, there is some traffic snarl up, but we probably hope that it might just be sorted out. Anyway, from Mlolongo all the way heading into Nairobi CBD, looking clear from both sides, from the express as well as just below.
There is a snarl up there near Pipeline,
Oh,
as
yes.
you can see.
Heading all the way
Absolutely.
to Bujumbura. I believe that is, this is also due to the traveling
Yes,
that
that is
many
currently
people are
ongoing.
doing right now.
Ahead of the festive season.
Oh, yes.
That is the current situation on the roads. If you do notice anything unusual, please do let us know. Feel free to talk to us on social media. The hashtag is Morning Cafe. That is TV47 Kenya. That's how you can find us at TV47 Kenya on social media. Shiksha Aurora at.
Jiringita _
At George Maringa _
Oh, yes.
Coming up next.
Coming up next is State of the Nation. How is the nation faring? We want to pick our minds from our guests to this morning. Professor Fred Ogola is already in studio, a governance expert. Wilson Susiun will also be joining us, former Secretary General, Kenya National Union of Teachers, NAT, and our former MP as well as the Honorable Kasim Tandaza, Member of Parliament for Matuga constituency. Stand by for that. Chime in your feedback. As we keep reminding you, our YouTube live chat is open. Just be sure to observe the community guidelines and send in your feedback. We appreciate those who watch, especially from the diaspora. We love when you watch and you tell us where you're watching us from. So please keep doing that as we take a short commercial break to be back with State of the Nation.
Vile unavyojua watoto wengi sana hawana namna. Mimi ningependelea watoto wasome.
I'm here to stress on education. At the same time, let us actually do any kind of sport that we are doing. Sport speaks the best language to everybody.
Tunataka tutafute talents. Zile raw talents kutoka kule nyumbani mashinani mahali tuko leo.
Hizi mbio za Chepsaita, like all other sports, zinaleta watu pamoja.
We want to use this event to uplift the lives of the community.
Anafurahia hii mchezo sana. Hata sikaange naambianga watu tuende Chepsaita.
Wanafunzi wakimbie ili wakuze talanta ya mbio ama kuhimiza tena elimu.
This is the place to be. Hapa ndipo mahali wanastahili kuwa tarehe 7. Wale watoto walikimbia last year, wamekimbia mpaka wamefuka mipaka zetu za Kenya.
Hey there friends, welcome to Kids on the Block, where fun and imagination come alive. We dive into magical world filled with exciting adventures and awesome friends.
What position were you in?
I was number 2.
What position were you?
Number 1.
He decided to cross the bridge by his house and look for food on the other side.
We're going to do half cup of chocolate chips, and the other one, we're going to do half cup of the blueberries.
So, grab your imagination hats and get ready to explore with us. Join us every Saturday at 9 a.m. for new friends, amazing stories, and tons of laughter.
Join us as we explore the journeys of those who defy the odds and break barriers. We dive deep into the stories of triumph.
Sometimes when parenting a child with a special need or whatever disability, family life becomes a bit complicated and you may end up raising the child on your own.
Here, we inspire.
I have a farm which one we showcase with other dyslexic youths and autism, how to farm.
Motivate.
It's never easy, but what we do, the best thing is to work with another parent who has an elder child than yours.
And break through the barriers one story at a time. Push your boundaries beyond the limit. Saturdays at 8 p.m. The Grind, where business meets brilliance. It's not just about the ideas.
I was working as a shampoo boy. I used to wash clients' hair on the sink.
It's about making them happen. From big wins.
In primary school, when we would be asked what people want to be, I was categorical that I want to be a nurse.
To hard lessons.
The consoles change, the gaming equipment keep changing.
We cover it all. Tune in to The Grind, where every episode is packed with insights.
The person who is serving customers, always be a customer-centric.
Strategies.
When you pay attention to detail, you get luxury items.
And stories to fuel your ambition. Don't just dream it, grind it. Mondays at 7:30 p.m.
Jiunge nasi tunapoangazia safari za viongozi bora. Kutoka kwa ushindi mkubwa hadi masomo magumu.
Wakati wetu kwamba wasichana si wa kusoma, ni wa kuolewa, ng'ombe ipatikane, wazazi wakuwe watajiri.
Tunashughulikia yote.
I wish I were a better investor.
My parents taught me how to look for things for myself.
Tazama Mfahamu Kiongozi, ambapo kila kipindi kimejaa maarifa, mikakati na hadithi za kukuza azma yako.
For me to succeed,
I have to fight.
Kila Alhamisi saa 1:30.
It is 18 minutes to the top of the good morning, and thank you for staying with us. You're watching Morning Cafe. Time now for State of the Nation, a conversation that we must have daily as a country. This morning, we are delighted to be joined by three gentlemen. They are already here in studio. From the right, immediate right, is Wilson Susion, former Secretary General, Kenya National Union of Teachers, as well as former Member of Parliament. Good morning and welcome.
Yeah, good morning, and good morning, our viewers.
Absolutely. Professor Fred Ogola, a governance expert in the middle. Good morning, sir.
Good morning, my brother, and welcome.
Asante sana. Mheshimiwa Kasim Tandaza, Member of Parliament, Matuga constituency. Hujambo, karibu.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. It's always a pleasure to be here this morning.
Thank you so much for making time, gentlemen. And I will start by picking your minds on several issues, a plethora of issues you're seeing this morning. And it's the issues of government defending the idea, or rather fees increment. And it's something that we're seeing, and I can see Prof nodding already. What do you make of that?
Well, I wouldn't agree with anything like increasing fees, because anytime you increase fees, you push people below the budget line. And when you push people below the budget line, then absolutely some people are locked out. You know, I've always advocated that instead of even increasing, why don't education be free? Because actually it can. If you look at the amount of money that is being budgeted for, Ministry of Education receives the highest allocation in the budget. Yet, the money just goes to the people who don't need it, but the people who need it don't get the money. If you look at the amount of salaries, money just going into operational cost and the rest, it is too much that the person who actually deserves it, because education does not take place until someone goes to a classroom, finishes school, and gets a job. But if money is going, for example, talk about planning, monitoring evaluations, workshops, you understand? So if you look at the chunk of the money that goes to education, only around 35% might go to a classroom, 35%. But I'm sure Mr. Sosion here would be more accurate with the exact figures. But from the last time I checked, classrooms are not sufficient. The equipment are not there. Laboratories are not enough. There are not enough teachers. There are not enough infrastructure for school. Yet, we send so much money. So where is this money going if it's not reaching the pupil who deserves it most? Why is it that the government has not been able to ensure, for example, we are going to grade 9, isn't it? Now, which classroom are they going to sit in? So these things of adding fees with no commensurate service, it's been the cancer in Kenya Kwanza, because they tax, they charge like an elephant, and the service looks like that of a mouse or a mosquito. So why don't you bite in the equal measure as you also give? You cannot just be biting, because this is actually becoming a common problem. Let me just extend this a little bit to another sector, because it's important. You know, the fresh produce farmers in Kenya, KFIS charges them around 585 shillings per kilometer to drive to inspect their farms. Now they're increasing that figure to over 1,000 bob. If you look at the fees they are being charged, it is making export of fresh produce more uncompetitive. Now, you see that sector employs 6 million people there, both direct and indirect. If that sector is dying, where is the money going to get money? So you go to look for where there's easy money to get from Kenya. So what I'm asking, Mr. President, in your manifesto, I'm sure Sosion was here, he was among the people who are in the forefront, and they said that there'll be free education, isn't it? From primary to university. Is there any other place you should pay school fees if there's free education? So I'm very concerned. They are talking about the economic growth in Kenya, that the economy is growing. But where are you taking the money? Is the money going to school to make children access more education? And then you look at here, we are looking at forming a global economy. A global economy, Kenyans cannot be competitive when more Kenyans access education. And now quoting Nelson Mandela, education should be the most important equalizer, where a child from rich family, from poor family, in equal measure, have equal access to education and are not motivated by money. Because if you look now, George, if you drive from Uhuru Highway, if you drive all the way up to Kiambu Road, today I counted, there are 28 posters asking Kenyans to go and study in Australia, go and study in the UK, go and study I don't know where. So why are we killing, first of all, the education system? It's not very good even. The quality is terrible, but the fees and the charges are very high. So that means that the people can afford, even ignore now, it's even cheaper now to take your child outside the country, get better quality with the money you have for those who can afford it, instead of putting your money in the country. For me, that is the biggest problem we have in the country. So education system needs to be completely revamped.
Mheshimiwa Sosion, of course, you know a lot about the education system, and for a very long time, we seem not to be getting it right. Have we ever even gotten it right in the first place? And why does it seem that education continues to be a thorn in the flesh for governments year in, year out, despite having experts and, you know, industry players that everyone has ideas about this?
It is the whole overall philosophy of the country. What is the philosophy of the country in terms of development, and do we value education as the underpinning base of any development? Yesterday, I was looking at the most educated nations in the world. If you Google it in the YouTube, you'll get it. And the top 10 most educated nations in the world. And I pumped in Korea. Korea now ranks as the most educated nation in the world. And remember, Korea at independence was at the same level with us. We got independent together with them at the same time. But their investment in the education, which they described as a rigorous education system with rigorous tests and which is absolutely free up to the university level, and with the highest number of citizens being educated. And technologically, it is breaking the ceilings globally. That defines what an ideal education system is. For Kenya, we've been disrupting our educational models from time to time. And I think for the last over 10 years, as an authority in that sector, there have been disruptive policies that are not born out of serious planning and which have been poorly executed. And Kenya Kwanza administration has been trying to remedy that. The Kibaki regime came closer to what we have been fighting for globally, the universal quality access for education. And that is when free education came in, affordable secondary and accessible tertiary education. And that is why there was proposal to have universities in every county. If you look at the Kenya Kwanza manifesto, it is a reflection of the Kibaki administration. And so right now, to talk about fees being revised upwards and being transferred to parents is a big mistake. Kenya Kwanza administration and through its education agenda and the master plan which is being implemented is to make education affordable and accessible to all Kenyans without limitations, and to remove all barriers affecting, inhibiting learners from accessing quality education. If you look at it, there's been more enhanced funding in terms of capitation. You look at the additional money to JS at level of grade 7, 8, at 15,000. That is significant amount of money being enhanced to that particular level. Remember, initially grades standard 7 and 8, they were getting 1,400. But now when it lifts up to 15,000 per child, that is a deliberate intention to protect and safeguard quality at that level. And what Professor is talking about here, if you check across Kenya, the efforts to deliver at least adequate classrooms for grade 9 across the country, and a lot of resources has been put to that particular program. No government in Kenya since independence has hired 56,000 teachers within 2 financial years, like it has been done now, on permanent and pensionable terms. And that was based on a gap of 116,000. So that means right now we are talking about a shortage, an average shortage of 56,000. So when you look at the government investments in terms of putting resources, in terms of packaging the human resources within the Kenya Kwanza framework, it speaks to deliberate intention to make education access, together with the funding model, which very many people don't understand. But the philosophy of the funding model is to speak to the bottom up, to make sure that children from households that are very poor are absolutely and fully financed. It is a matter that is still under further discussion, for further consultation, so that really we get it right. So I think as a country, as a government, the Kenya Kwanza has been trying to firefight and remedy and correct some of the errors that were committed for the last 10 years through Jubilee administration, which was an anti-climax of Kibaki effort. So we want to get back to what Kibaki had put and purposed within our development agenda in terms of education, because our education is supposed to mirror the Vision 2030 to produce the most competitive human resources. And then we want to grow as a country to be a country of manufacturing, value addition, and a competitive country. And we cannot do so without mounting a productive education system. And that is why our education model also speaks to TVET and quality TVET, quality teaching in TVET. And TVET is everything. You go to a country like Germany, the biggest investment in Germany is TVET education. That is why it has remained a heavily industrialized country. You go to a country like South Korea, why it's top in the world? Because it has invested in STEM education, science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. And I think we need to review our education further. There is need to review it further to make it more relevant to the urgent need of industrialization and creation of jobs.
Mheshimiwa Tandaza, the House, the National Assembly, in which you sit, has allocated 700 billion. In fact, education is the biggest gainer in the last 2 budgets of this Kenya Kwanza administration, 700 billion. But still, you would feel that this doesn't really come to into full play, whereas Mheshimiwa Sosion has mentioned all these efforts. Why does it seem so difficult to be able to, not to bulldoze really, but to fix a sector that is even receiving the highest funding?
Thank you, George. One, it is given that education is the greatest equalizer. It is given that for any country to grow its economy, education is one of the basic pillars of any country. So that one is given. 2, when we go to the education sector, we've had a problem, let's give it, since independence. I will not want to talk the colonial era because we were under the colony, but since independence, in terms of even the little that we have not being distributed equally. The issue of marginalization in some parts of this country, that is real also. So when it comes to the cake, the 700 billion that we allocate to the Minister of Education, for sure it's not enough. If you look at what they normally request, you know, the budget making process starts from the executive. So the ministries sit and they normally bring their requests to the National Assembly. Then you realize that we do not have that kind of money to give them. And yet we agree that what they are requesting is legit. It's not that they are requesting anything, because my colleagues here, Professor and the former, I remember him most as the former NAT, Secretary General Mheshimiwa in Parliament, Main Matters Education. They've put it correctly, from infrastructure to the teaching gap to the issue of quality assurance, which is very important. He has talked of the KFIS and whatever. It is in the education sector where if there are some schools which have not been assessed for 2-3 years, in my constituency, I don't know about other constituencies, and you go to the county headquarters and they tell you we don't have in fact, Kwale, my Matuga sub-county, the director of education, quality assurance, they don't have a moving car. They have a car which has been parked for the last 3-4 years there. So they end up using the CDF car when it is available. So there are myriad of problems, but certainly the monies are not enough. But are we doing enough with even the little that we give them? That one is also another elephant in the room. I will not want to repeat what Professor said. But the Ministry of Education, they have a lot to do, even with the little that we give them. Of course, there are positive efforts, like when we talked about the deficit in infrastructure. We know that there are attempts to do 20,000 classrooms for the GSS. Are they enough for the all GSS classrooms? They are not, but that is a step in the right direction. The hiring of the teachers, yes. But overall, the Ministry of Education has issues that they need to up. The issue of fees certainly is not the right way to go. But I think the biggest problem which we are facing now is an issue where the ministry caps fees at, let's say, a boarding secondary school or at university, let's talk of a secondary school, 42,000. But behind the scenes now, for a student to be in class, they end up paying an upward of 80,000 shillings, you see. So that is also a problem. I wish that can also be streamlined so that a parent knows, if I'm to look for 60,000, this is what I need to look for my kid to be in school. But to be given a fee sheet that is 42 and then you end up paying 80, this even complicates the problem. It is against the law, but we know it continues. The ministry knows that it continues, and it's like there's nothing they can do. So there is also that bit of enforcement and sometimes behind the scenes arrangement and corruption coming in so that the parent ends up fleeced outside what is even stipulated. These are very difficult times to ask more money from the parents, for sure. But again, we'll be balancing it with what else can the taxpayer, because if the government pays for them, it is the taxpayer. What else, how else is the government going to raise extra money so that they can cushion the parent? I sat in Parliament up to late. Yesterday, I think we left Parliament at 9, trying to do something with the finance bill, you see, trying to see how we can raise more money. The issue of how it's going to be used, that one is another debate. But for sure, you cannot spend what you don't have in the first place. It's a question of how you are going to spend it. So those are the kind of things that as a parliamentarian and as a leader, you end up actually trying to midwife which way forward.
Briefly, Prof.
So George, for me, as the people's economist, let me put it this way. No, this is the tag I have, because you guys are talking on models like, you can explain this Singapore, Korea, but you see what's happening. My grandmother in the village in Ugenya or Siaya or in Homa Bay, Migori, do not know about those models. For them, they just want a child that can dress in a uniform, go to school, study, and come back. I don't think they know about Singapore, isn't it? I saw the president the other day saying a statement that people who have never been to the airport should not criticize the airport construction, which means they have not been there. Many people have not gone to the airport. We don't know Singapore, that is. So to put it blatantly, let's look at the economic situations of Kenyans whom you want to get more money from. Economic survey shows that 87% of Kenyans are struggling just to take care of their daily needs and even try to save for their future. And it has been stated that only 13% of Kenyans have financial freedom. Now, who are the 13%? Maybe the one sitting on my left and right, because I don't think I even have financial freedom where I am at the moment. Now, how many are these people who are even taking their kids studying in London, studying abroad? These are the people with financial freedom we're talking about. Because financial freedom means that you can take your child to school where you want, you can go to access healthcare wherever you want.
Yes.
So the president and all the ministers in government and all those people in opposition, the broad-based government, if you like it, those are the people forming this 13%. The rest of Kenyans are not able even to get anything. Secondly, the inequality in Kenya is very high. 0.1% of Kenyans own 99.9% of the Kenyan wealth. So even if you talk about wealth growth, wealth is growing among just the 0.1% who own 99% of wealth. That's why inequality in Kenya is so high. So now if there's that inequality is so high and money becomes a denominator on what determines your success or failure, are you seeing how already the people who have money have already begun the race ahead of time, and you can't catch up with them if you want to. So according to me, I grew up in Ugenya. My father was a catechist. My father earned 1,500 a month. We're 11 kids. I studied only through scholarship. If I am telling another child that you pay school fees to succeed, I'm telling them that your future is completely gone. Because if someone told me that I had to pay school fees, I could not afford. Because my father having 11 children, can you imagine one in class 8, another in class 7, another in class 6, another one in Form 1? You can't manage. So many families, even when I was living in the village, though I thought my father was poor, by earning 1,500, we were better off. So can you imagine, you are better off than someone earning 1,500. Now, of course, now the dynamic has changed because now 1,500 is too little.
Yeah.
But I'm trying to say that is the stark reality of economics in Kenya. Income levels have gone down. I added all taxes, income tax, VAT, among other taxes. Anybody earning a salary, 54% of their salary goes to taxes and levies. Then now 46%, which is remaining, the government taxes you 54%, then leaves you on your own. After all the taxation, like I said, you're being taxed like an elephant, isn't it? You go to the supermarket, you're on your own. You go to a fuel station, you're on your own. You go to school, you're on your own. You go to hospital, you're on your own. But other countries' taxation has never been the problem. They tax you, they levy you, but there's free primary education. Let's not go to Europe. Let's go to Libya, when Gaddafi was the president. Free primary education meant that when your child is 4 years, someone drives to your compound with a van and gives your child shoes, socks, and uniform, and take them to school with a van. Your work is just to prepare that they are woken up. Can you imagine, for us in Kenya, when they say free primary education, we are being cheated. Free primary education means that you have a classroom for free, but the shoes you buy, the clothes you buy the socks. We are very far, George, from free primary education. So when you add these fees, the parents have to buy books, have to buy uniform, have to feed the children. It is completely, for me, I find it sinful.
We need to take a break, but let me allow you to briefly speak on it.
Yes, I think Prof. is said is an economist of the people.
And people's economist.
People's economist.
Yes.
But I also want him to really apply a lot of mind in economics of education. You're speaking about the same thing. We must appreciate where we are. I'm not defending our system, but I think our system, but I think let's appreciate where we've come from. As a country, there has been sufficient devotion of resources to education. That is one. Two, the question is, what is this money doing in schools? That brings in the issue of accountability. There is no education system that runs without proper supervision and proper, let me use the word, inspection. Every school must be inspected and you get feedback on how these resources are utilized, whether it goes to the benefits of children. This procurement system and cartels and businesses that are created within the distribution chains of school administrations should just be weeded out through effective and quality inspection. So our education system lacks one thing: accountability structures. And that behoves the ministry and the government of Kenya to revamp the quality assurance or inspectorate section, because you can't put money where you cannot check how it has been utilized. That also, the ball goes back to Parliament. And we have a law. The law was written very clearly. Basic Education Act, provision Article 64 to 70, provides establishment of ESCAC. And that has not been established for the last 10 years. And so education has been operating on an autopilot without inspection, without checking. And that is why I condemn any move to raise fees and transfer those charges to parents. As a country, we should be graduating to a fully funded public education of good quality that's accessible to the citizens. That is how to open up universal access. And of course, we must always benchmark with the best. That I should tell Professor, and I'm sure Professor agrees with me. Benchmark with the best. So when we talk of Singapore, we talk of we talk of South Korea and the rest. We are trying to compare with the best. What is it that they've done that we should be able to do, and that which we are able to do? We are on the right track. But can we get things right? Can we have proper management within our education sector, proper planning, meticulous planning, so that we mount not just an education system with good quality outcomes, but a rigorous education system that can produce competitive human resources that can fit in the global economy. So there is work for us to do, and I don't agree with any move to raise fees, and I don't think that is in line with the government policy. We cannot use our children to make business and to create immoral wealth. I've been seeing even closure of these some of the boarding schools because they have boarding facilities that do not meet minimum standards. Those are illegalities. Such schools should just be closed. All schools must meet minimum legal standards and ensure that children actually indeed are safe, because we can't get to the level of Indarasha that we had the other day. So really, as a country, let us run our education system within the minimum requirements of laws and ensure
we need to get away from this education.
We inspect schools are properly inspected.
Just 1 minute.
Yes.
I'll not just start a new discussion. I think Honorable Sosion, who I respect so much, he also has lived in Nairobi for too long, that he forgets that there are some areas where a school and the next one is over 10 kilometers apart, you see. And it has been there, as initially said, from since independence, because of marginalization, and that is for sure. We are not talking about schools in Mount Kenya. We might not be talking schools in Western Kenya. But we know there are some parts of this country, especially northeastern and coast, where you have a child, if he is to attend a day school, then he'll have to walk 10 kilometers. What is the option? At least create some boarding facility so that he can get at least that ABCD, can get that minimum. We are talking of quality education. Yes, everybody needs quality education. But if you can't get quality education, you are better off getting some education than none at all. Otherwise, if we go the way Honorable Sosion is saying, then it means there will be a bigger percentage of Kenyans who will not go to school at all. Will not even go to school and not get any basic education at all. There are some things which we need to actually look at Kenya the way it is, as it is right now, not an ideal situation the way we would want it to be.
Let's look at page 14, coined with, of evil spirits and citizens of the Standard, on matters, criticism and the, spirit that was rebuked by the president.
Yes.
And Prof, I can see you're eager to speak about that. Perhaps you could start us off on that.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Last time we were in this discussion here with Mheshimiwa Sosion, and I said that Kenya Kwanza suffers largely from incompetence. And today we are back here 1 week later to explain to him why the president is angry and why he needs people like Joho and UNET to try to support him. Let me start by saying that the president has accused Kenyans of being unpatriotic, isn't it? But patriotism by definition means attachment to either your cultural heritage, political, or even your language. things like assets like the airport, things like the health system, education system. So Kenyans are attached to those things. Whenever they are touched, whenever they are pricked, they get angry. Then the president says, you have demons. That you have demons now, you are trying to be unpatriotic. Do you know the passion of the Kenyan sovereign protection of those very important sovereign monuments is the reason why there's a clash here. So I want to tell the president that actually you are the one who is detached. Kenyans are attached to those things, and they're actually more patriotic. And if there's a demon, this demon cannot be coming from anywhere else. It could be coming from somewhere else. So my point I'm trying to draw, which is very clear, is that if you look at the whole idea about patriotism, we have to understand that the president is misdirecting his anger. I want to say that anger does not come from affection. Anger normally comes from a point of view of weakness and actually comes from the point of view of incompetence. The president needs to have a purposeful anger. What should anger the president? The corruption in the country. What should anger the president? The anger should go towards the education system, which is collapsing every time, healthcare system, which is collapsing, transport system. The anger is the enemies of Kenya. Should anger the president more than the friends. The citizens are just checking you by telling you, Mr. President, you are president, yes. But please, this one we don't want. Those are friends. An enemy cannot tell you that you are getting lost. An enemy can continue directing you towards being lost. Kuna say in Kikuyu which says that the one destined to get lost does not meet a friend. So when you meet a friend, when you're on your way to getting lost, when they tell you, please, this route is going to hell, then you say, no, I'm sure this is the best route to heaven. So the president is being told by the church leaders, this route is going to hell, isn't it? They have rejected the money. They are now demons, isn't it? So what I'm trying to say, Mr. President, is please be calm, be cool, calm, collected, because a general can never lose their temper. Because a general should be more concerned about stability, fit to command. You know, if you are angry and you are very much, let's say, worked out, as a general, you cannot command the team. He's the commander-in-chief, head of state, and commander-in-chief of the armed forces. For that matter, you cannot hire a general who is directing with anger. You should direct with strategy and with tact. So the most important thing I want to tell Mr. President that you have to understand very well that if you try to disagree with the Kenyans, you are going to lose one of the largest constituencies that you have not been named. Do you know the largest constituency which has not been named in Kenya? That constituency contains 18 million voters. That constituency, which resonate with me, Fred Ogola, as people's economist, is the Gen Z. Gen Z. Gen Z is the largest constituency. You will not see it on papers. IBC has not even recognized it, but it will speak very strongly. So instead of calling them demons, please reach out to them, engage them. A leader engages. Let him see us as children. Not even children, but let's say adults who are citizens, who have a say, reach out. What are the issues? If the church has rejected money, if the church, with the national conscience of Kenya, have told you, you are wrong, why don't you engage even these people who are your naysayers? And I want to end by telling the likes of Akina Junet and Joho, where you are, some people have been there. Immediately the Kenya Kwanza first cabinet was named. Did you see the arrogance? Did you hear how Moses Kuria used to speak, how Murkomen used to speak, and the opulence they had? We in government, you, we, you. You hear Junet's quote here is, we cannot be, you cannot tell us. Now they are we, they are them, and we are we. We are all Kenyans. So this arrogance they have, which was the main reason why Gen Z revolution actually took place, it is coming back. I want to tell Mr. President that these team of experts you have, they are not the experts to tell you what Kenyans want. Listen to Kenyans. Let us have a proper dialogue. This country belongs to all of us, and we don't have any other country apart from this. And let's listen to each other and know that you are ruling Kenyans. Leadership is about followership. Let Kenyans follow you if you are taking them to heaven. They will follow you if you follow Christ. But if you start following somebody else, I'm sure I won't work. As a Christian, as Catholic, follow me as I follow Christ.
Mheshimiwa,
If I leave Christ alone, you're on your own, just like the donkey.
Okay. Mheshimiwa Tandaza, what's this, the anger that the president is expressing? It seems Kenyans do not, he feels like Kenyans do not appreciate the levels and where we've come. And I'm sure, there's been a lot that has been spoken about, the drop of price of unga, inflation and the rest, the price of fuel. But these are things that the president feels ideally should be driving conversation, but still, in his opinion, Kenyans are focusing on other things.
Well, George, I don't think the president is angry as such. The president, there is a disconnect between what this government is doing and the communication to the general public. And I think that is where the problem is. That this government is doing the best that it can for this country, but those who are supposed to be benefiting from it do not understand that the actions being taken are there, they're actually for their own good. He brought in the issue of Gen Zs, and I think this is where the disconnect is. When the government wanted to raise taxes on imported sanitary pads, the Gen Zs and probably the People's Economist, when the issue of social media, they went out and said now the government does not want to use our young ladies who have no jobs, they don't have money, now they are now taxing our pads so that we can even, and they went to demonstrate with showing how government is so insensitive. And yet the government, what was trying to do was to discourage importation so that we can spur local manufacturing, which is going to create jobs for those Gen Zs, those jobless youth. You see, so there's a very big disconnect. The government wants to do something good for the people, but the people reject it for some reasons, sometimes most of the time politically, but yet it is for their own good. Perhaps yesterday in Parliament, just a recent case in Parliament when we were raising, we were debating some amendments to the finance bill. There was an issue of tiles where the government now, that bill was trying to impose higher taxes on imported tiles. Ceramics. In imported, but okay, well, it was mainly we are discussing about tiles. But ceramics generally, so that we can spur. And there was data to show that now we have enough local manufacturers whereby if they are shielded, because we cannot compete with the Chinese manufacturers, and certainly we cannot compete. We are not at the same level. Our economies are not at the same level. Those jobs are done there. We want those jobs to be done here. Who will benefit from those jobs? I'm already a member of parliament. So it is those Gen Zs. But you see now, there were people opposing on the floor of the house that no. If you increase, then construction will be unaffordable. No, it's going to be cheaper because we are going to use our local tiles where the capacity to manufacture ceramics is here. So the president's main problem, and I think that's where we as a country, is the communication between the plans for the government, for the nation, and those who are supposed to benefit from it. He talked about the donation. It's so sad. To me, it was actually political. How can you go to tell somebody that we need a bus, we are having this project, and you expect him to do nothing? Even as I'm here, I still have requests from my local churches where they want to build something. I have some requests from local mosques where they are saying the roofs are leaking. Now, if I assist, is that political? Should somebody reject after telling me that I have this problem? So I think it's high time that we really separate politics and faith. Otherwise, the issue of rejecting money donated to you after you have requested for it, I think to me, certainly is political and not a matter of faith. But generally, it's high time. Where the government, to me, actually is failing is communication. I think we need to put more emphasis. We need to tell Kenyans more of what is best for them, the intentions that are good for them, rather than letting those who are opposing the government politically to run away with it. They spin everything and look bad even when the intentions are very good.
Mheshimiwa Sosion, in 2022, and I'm sure you've seen these very interesting memes that have come out lately, the black shadows. And one is saying in 2022 there was begging for votes. In 2024, quote unquote, pepo chafu is what has been likened, and the juxtaposition of the same citizenry that this government went to seek for votes. Is this the best way to address this, whereas there is a disconnect, as Meshima says? In spinning information, creating propaganda, I think give it to the Kenyan media.
Yeah.
You're good in creating stories. And you see, pepo chafu, you can pick it up as a big issue of the whole week and end up demonizing some, and you make it look so big because you talk about pepo anyway, talk about it in chat. And the president has his own right to express his feelings, and he simply expressed his feelings. Are we amplifying, or are Kenyans also doing this?
There's no right of feeling in the
No. Okay, let's hear you first then. No, just hear me. Yes. Because don't disrupt my presentation. This perception of emotions and anger, I think, is misplaced. It's completely misplaced. It is misframed, and it is meant to distort facts as they are. I think it's good as a country we remain focused on fundamental facts. The president was elected on a specific agenda with key pillars to deliver to the country. And what the president was talking about is people distorting information and misleading the public, so that then we are not even able to communicate and appreciate where we have come from and what we have done. That entirely is what the president was talking about. Can we have an opportunity to talk about the best story of ourselves? Do you want to tell me that from 2022 up to where we are in 2024, nothing has been delivered by this administration? Surely, very fundamental. If, for example, we examine the 5 pillars, pillar number 1 on agriculture, reinvigorating the production within the agricultural sector, it has been very, very phenomenal. That's a fact for the matter.
Really?
Yes, a leap and figures. We talk about numbers, and numbers don't lie. If from average of production of 30 million bags of maize, now we are doing 74 million bags of maize out of one simple thing, subsidized fertilizers. Is that not phenomenal? To an extent that now we don't import maize anymore. We can't import. Can you imagine as a country that can produce maize, importing maize, so that then you subsidize the imports, and then you feed the cartels, kill the local farmers, so that you do business through imports? Let me go and let me discuss one key area, and allow me. Sugar production. These cartels that have occupied the production chain over the years, right from Moi administration, that is when we started seeing counterfeit sugars being imported to the country. And the sugar industry died in this country. The cane farmers in Nyanza and Western and in Coast, in Ramisi, that industry collapsed. And nobody was explaining. Up to Kibaki administration, those cartels continued. Uhuru administrations, those cartels continued. But do you know, in 2 years, just through the fertilizer subsidy alone, Kenya now is producing surplus sugar that we can almost export. The cane farmers in Western, go check, the cane farmers in Western Kenya and the Nyanza region are now producing double of the production in terms of cane, and they're earning more. Factories are working. Within 2 years, we've solved the sugar problem. We can almost export. Is that not really phenomenal? Because the key agenda of the president and Kenya Kwanza was to reinvigorate the production sector. And you can't even trigger manufacturing and other areas without beginning with agriculture and food production sustainability. So I think the president is at pains, and he's overworking, and he's focused on these key pillars ranging from agriculture, MSME, and
ICT, which of course, you know, we are in the fourth industrial revolution. Everything is driven through ICT, and you must open it up and let every Kenyan access that particular platform. The idea of housing and even UHC, those are major things. Here, you have been talking about the cost of fees and all these. There are two major social services that even the government can provide adequately and qualitatively. You offload the burden from the household. That is education and health. These are the major focus areas of the president. And you see, you need resources to channel to those particular areas. So I think the president, within himself, in his own heart and in his commitment, has got urgency to deliver these pillars so that Kenyans can experience, can derive the benefits from these key pillars within a short time. And of course, when he criticizes those who are distorting information and trying to disrupt the deliberate agenda to do certain things, to implement certain programs, particularly what he was talking about was expanding Jomo Kenyatta International Airport, because it must grow to a capacity of handling 33 million passengers by 2054. That has to be done through deliberate upgrade of infrastructure. And the question of who does it and how tendering is done has been a big conversation in the country.
What if that misinformation, before you come to you, Prof, what if that misinformation and disinformation, even before you proceed for the break, is coming because there is lack of that information? So that then people are forming their own ideas because, and he has complained and he has said about communication, the one that Meshima was talking about.
If we all agree that communication is the problem, the agenda is right, the pillars are correct, beneficial to the country, they must be delivered. And if communication is the issue, can we sanitize the communication space? And by sanitizing the communication space, even those who are deliberately distorting, should be handled. And that space should be managed, because we must communicate the right information as citizens, wherever you are. Even if we have to criticize government, and we are a democracy, and this is a government that is open for scrutiny by everyone. And this is a government that is guided by Article 10 of the Constitution, public participation in everything. But it is not disrupting and distorting information to advance lies. So we cannot be a country that advances lies. Let us be a country that speaks truth. You must prove what you are advancing. And that is why we need to sanitize our communication space. What is it that we are communicating?
Prof and Mesh, allow us to now pay the bills, because we've been holding on this break for quite a minute. Let's pay the bills, and then we'll be able to come back to pick up this conversation and on matters Jamhuri National Job Fair, which is coming up, and it starts today which will be celebrated on the 12th of December, that is Jamhuri Day. And as part of the celebrations, the government will host the Jamhuri National Job Fair preceding Jamhuri Day from today, the 5th of December to the 11th of December 2024 at the Kenyatta International Convention Center, Nairobi. And the Jamhuri National Job Fair will bring together a wide range of stakeholders, including government ministers, the private sector, civil society organizations, educational institutions, and job seekers, with the goal of addressing the country's employment challenges and creating opportunities for Kenyan citizens. The theme for this event is jobs, labor migration, entrepreneurship, and entertainment. That job fair is currently, will start today at the KICC with the presence of Dr. Musalia Mudavadi, CS for Foreign and Diaspora Affairs. There is also the issue of another person who will be coming is Felix Koskei, that is the head of public service. On day 3, we'll have Kipchumba Murkomen, the creative economy. There will be a presidential town hall on day 4 with President William Ruto. On the 8th of December will be day 5 for Hustler Fund. We'll be discussing that as well. On the 9th of December, day 6, ICT Day. On the 10th of December, there'll be Matters Digital Jobs, accessing jobs through online platforms, recognition of prior learning. And day 7, there'll be the Whole of Government Day, visa processing, pathways, the diplomatic corps, and stakeholder engagements on that. So that job fair is beginning at the KICC this morning please be sure to participate as young people to be able to see the opportunities that lie for you. We are taking a short break. When we come back, we have more on State of the Nation with my guests here in studio.
Vile unavyojua watoto wengi sana hawana namna. Mimi ningependelea watoto wasome.
I'm here to stress on education. At the same time, let us actually do any kind of sport that we are doing. Sport speaks the best language to everybody.
Tunataka tutafute talents. Zile raw talents kutoka kule nyumbani mashinani mahali tuko leo.
Hizi mbio za Chepsaita, like all other sports, zinaleta watu pamoja.
We want to use this event to uplift the lives of the community.
Anafurahia hii mchezo sana. Hata sikaange naambianga watu tuende Chepsaita.
Wanafunzi wakimbie ili wakuze talanta ya mbio ama kuhimiza tena elimu.
This is the place to be. Hapa ndipo mahali wanastahili kuwa tarehe 7. Wale watoto walikimbia last year, wamekimbia mpaka wamefuka mipaka zetu za Kenya.
Hey there, friends. Welcome to Kids on the Block, where fun and imagination come alive. We dive into magical world filled with exciting adventures and awesome friends.
What position were you in?
I was number 2.
What position were you?
Number 1.
He decided to cross the bridge by his house and look for food on the other side.
We're going to do half cup of chocolate chips, and the other one, we're going to do half cup of the blueberries.
So, grab your imagination hats and get ready to explore with us. Join us every Saturday at 9 a.m. for new friends, amazing stories, and tons of laughter.
All over the world.
Absolutely.
To reduce the cost of it.
The conversation, of course, getting very fiery even off air. Thank you so much for staying with us on Matters State of the Nation. Mheshimiwa Wilson Sossion, Professor Ogola, and Kasim Tandaza. Before you went to the break, these two gentlemen wanted to chime into what you were saying. Prof, I'll give you, and then Mheshimiwa, before we wind up on this whole issue of, demons and now and citizens who are criticizing the government.
Yeah, so George, I want to answer the question, why is there a disconnect between the Kenya Kwanza government and the citizens? Now that they are demons, they are not understanding or appreciating what happened. Remember, this same thing happened between Uhuru Kenyatta and his Mount Kenya Murima. When the Mount Kenya told Uhuru, we don't eat barabara. So you heard that thing, we don't eat tarmac. Because when you have an economic model that cannot be understood, remember that Kenyans don't want to know the economic model. And we are discussing with Mheshimiwa Kasim off air that the issue is the feel. You can measure the temperature, but are you feeling that temperature? They are measuring productivity, how much production has taken place. But there's what you call production and productivity. Productivity and agriculture has gone down. You understand? Productivity here means that for every 1 unit shilling you use, how much do you earn? The farmers who farmed those maize is talking about that bumper harvest. They are poorer now than they were before last time. Because if you're producing, let's say, 100,000 tons of maize, but your margin is 10%. Previously, you were producing 50,000 tons of maize, and your margin is 30%. Where would you like to be? You rather produce less when you have more margin. So what I'm saying, fundamentally there's a disconnect because the Kenya Kwanza administration is using an outdated economic tool even to communicate with the Kenyans. Because now, if the content is the same and people are not understanding, which means the conveyor of that information is not working.
Okay.
Because let me just explain this because it's
very briefly, Pen.
Kenya Kwanza is talking more of economic growth. People have moved there nowadays. I'm an economist. That is, you know, David Lee is an old economist who did his economics long time ago. And he's using the very notes long time to try to advise Kenya Kwanza with. You know those lecturers who use notes which were used by other lecturers 50 years ago to teach another class.
Whereas he's not here.
The economic model they are using is economic growth. Economic development is the new norm in town. Economic development talks about access to goods of life. Food, we are talking about education, we are talking about healthcare. How much are Kenyans still able to access that? So if you are, I just gave an example of here that if you are sitting in a plane and you're being told this plane is going to New York, and you peep into the cockpit, discover that the captain is having the map of Malaysia, are you comfortable that you're going to go to Singapore or you're going to New York? So Kenya Kwanza is taking us to our future using the wrong map. Kenyans don't care about economic growth because even in human development, you can grow and you become a grown-up, but you are not developed. Development in spirit, development in economics and politics.
Okay.
Kenyans want to have the feel of this economic growth.
So that you move, yeah.
If the feel are in a spreadsheet,
yes,
just like they are using them in a spreadsheet, like let's say Excel sheet, but somebody cannot feel it in their house when they're having food on the table.
Okay.
When they are going to school, when they are going to class, they can't feel it. Then that is the disconnect. Kenyans don't want to understand which economic model they are using. Kenyans want their life to much better. If it is better, they won't talk about it.
Your colleagues have even argued that the macros are working. For instance, the chairman of Budget and Appropriations, last year as you closed the year, he said on macros that is working. Where they feel they need to pull up the socks is on the micros, feeling money in the pockets. Don't you think that's what needs now to be addressed so that then this quote-unquote public anger and rage can come down, Mahesh?
I think for as long as we have people's economists like Professor here, who is a very good friend of mine, my lecturer also, this Kenya, the anger will never go down. Because I was expecting the economists to tell us that the reality on the ground is that when it comes to food, it is so much cheaper now. You are getting it at a cheaper rate. Most people are not even now buying unga. They can get a gorogoro and whatever. Food is available. And you know that is a very important. If you walk to the supermarket now, where you are spending 3,000, you can now spend 1,500. That is the feel. Now, if that is not the feel to the Mwananchi, what else would they feel? The cost of fuel, it went to as high as 200 shillings per liter. Now it's around below 180 shillings per liter, and you are saying people are not feeling that. They are yet to feel it, you know. So this is more of politics than the actual feel that Kenyans should be having. And I think that and I know these people will always be there because I know in Kenya, and it has been proven, for as long as somebody is not on the government side, then he sees a way of spinning some theories which actually not beneficial to the people on the ground. Yeah. For sure, as we speak now, the quality of life, and it starts with food, because without food you'll even be sick. Of course, health and food and health are the same things. So with food being cheaper now, you cannot tell me Kenyans are poorer, are more angrier, are feeling more against this government. It's not doing anything than they were before. You know, as we've said, we'll always be moving from point A to point B. I'm not saying we're at the best place, and that is why the Kenya Kwanza government has not stopped working. The issue of health is very important, and that is what the Kenya Kwanza government is trying to fix. Certainly, it cannot be fixed in one day, but if you look at that model, as an economist, he would say this is the one which is going to sort out, it's going to bring in more money to the pockets of Kenyans once their health issues are handled than the current situation.
Let's move now to...
But we've seen this one. Probably next time Professor William Kenya Kwanza government, he'll come with other theories. Otherwise, for now, I think he's speaking from two sides of
just
a mouth.
A small thing to correct. You know, we are measuring
30 seconds.
We are measuring poverty index. It is going up. Even as he talks about
which instruments are being used to measure the poverty index
is going up. Why? I've told you that these things they are talking about is about inequality. When there's a lot of inequality, it's not easy to measure that any benefit and economically everybody gets.
Okay.
If there was equality,
and in summary,
this looks to be a very big paper. You're not getting to the
this is my time.
Okay.
Let me just finish. Then I want to tell him one thing.
Summary 1, summary 2.
In economics, there's what they call lagging variables and leading variables. Lagging variables are the things the government has done to get the benefits they are talking about.
Okay.
They went for fuel, they went for G to G. G didn't solve the oil issue.
For as long as the prices have come down, what else do you want?
On the cost of production,
2 months consecutively.
Don't interrupt. on the production of maize, they gave us fake fertilizer. How did fake fertilizer lead to bumper harvest? I know I'm being
Is the bumper harvest there or not?
These are not demons. These are true facts that maybe that is the work of God. Rains came in, which added to easier production. Then you are telling us those God came to Kenya.
Which model of economics talks of works of God to bring in the prices of unga down?
Did you
now,
bring the
as a summary of all this, I've had prof, I've had engineer. It's good we have an engineer in the house with deep knowledge of economics also and legislation, and you have a professor of economics. But I don't know this economics where really it is applicable.
And we have a teacher.
Yes, you have a teacher here. Let me now.
Who can teach both engineering and economics?
The underpinning agenda of Kenya Kwanza administration and that of the president is transforming the country. And transforming the country is not an event. It is not a switch on and switch off affair. It is a process. And this transformation may go even beyond his term. And so when you look at the key critical pillars from agriculture, MSME, ICT, housing, and UHC, creative economy, and other supporting programs, these are things that will grow gradually. And already there are significant indicators against each pillar. A lot of work that has been covered. And when you talk about the offloading of the economic stress on Kenyans, we've talked about agriculture, availability of food, and that is a key production area that needs now to be sustained. But look at other things. Can our good economist here tell us when inflation drops from a figure of 9, and that is done by Kenya National Bureau of Statistics, down to 6.9, and now is at 2.7. Those are real figures. When the cost of fuel, keeps coming down, is that not a relief? Let's close this. So I'm saying this transformation is real. It is a process, and indicators are there, and we are getting to a more comfortable and safer zone for all Kenyans.
Page 8 of the Standard. Let's move now to matters DPP support, where Professor KINDIKI has defended the Office of Director of Public Prosecutions, and where he said all arms of government must collaborate to achieve national goals. Mheshimiwa Tandaza, the DPP's office has been accused of dropping cases. We did see what happened when there was a very first batch of cabinet secretaries, and along the way what you have seen. Would this support coming from the executive through the deputy president mean something to inspire confidence in the office of the DPP, in as much as we look at the whole conversation on matters, unethical conduct, the reiteration on commitment to prosecuting corruption and economic crimes cases, the collaboration to achieve national goals? There's so much that seems to be happening in terms of the issue of DPP and that office. Does this mean we will get to some place eventually from where you sit as a legislator?
You see, George, in this country, we have the best laws. When it comes to legislation, be it in the office of the DPP, be it in the office of ESCC, be it in the matters judiciary, be it in the executive, so far, the laws that we have on this land, I could say they're the best. The problem has always been enforcement and execution. You talked about the cases which were dropped. It is unfortunate, it was unfortunate that the executive sometimes uses the other arms of government to settle political scores. Because it cannot be that a governor, for instance, could have stolen some money 10 years ago, investigated 10 years ago, and then all of a sudden, when somehow he says something against the executive or against someone, then that's the time now he's prosecuted. To me, that kind of prosecution is nonsensical. It doesn't take us anywhere. So from what the deputy president has said, that is the right way to go.
Okay.
That is the right way to go. And that is the confidence, that's the Kenya that we want. So that if it is matters corruption, if it is matters criminal, it is handled as per the book. Whoever has been given that office. And so far, the people who are heading those offices are people of integrity, because sometimes it starts from who is in charge of that office. If the person in charge of that office has questionable integrity issues, then for sure you don't expect that person to execute that mandate. But so far the people in that office are people of integrity, and I would urge, it is my hope that the executive, so far we've not seen much of interference, but that has to be sustained so that we spur confidence in that area. And we all agree it all goes around issues of corruption. More likely. That is why we are not actually, we talk about Singapore, we can talk about Malaysia, but I think the differentiating factor here is corruption. And is those arms of government, those different arms of government, with the good laws that we've given them from the National Assembly, to use them as per book, not to look at somebody whether he's in this side of government or on that side of government. If you go against the law, taken through the process, and the judiciary also take you from the DPP's office when prosecution matters come into place.
Prof.
My comment is, why should the Deputy President defend DPP? For what reason? You know, you cannot go to defend who can investigate you. It means there's something really wrong here, fundamentally. It should be an independent institution, which is not independent. Why do you want to defend an independent institution? You know, that first of all tells you that this is a joke of the century. So that institution is not even independent. What interest does the Deputy President have in the DPP's office? In other countries, in fact, this will be violation. Defending and even offending are both interfering. So this shows serious interference by the executive into these independent institutions. George, we are where we are because there's serious institutional and systemic failure of all institutions. Go to any place, go to IBC, we have the issue there. Go to judiciary, there are issues there. Go to DPP's office, there are issues there. Let me start by asking the following. Is this true there is crime? Is it true there is crime in Kenya? Yes, there is. Is it true there's corruption in Kenya? Yes, there is. Why is it that no one has been successfully been prosecuted and refunded the monies they were talking about? I hear ministers in government or government officials to the level of Ndindi Nyoro saying that 7.2 trillion have been stolen by the Kenya Kwanza government. I'm not the one who has said it, he's the one who said it. You go to the website of ESCC.
When did he say that?
Something like two weeks ago.
Spinning propaganda.
Yes, something like
that's what we were just discussing
when he
previously.
said that Kenya Kwanza has borrowed 7.2 trillion.
That's not an
borrowed or stolen.
Borrowed.
Okay.
And
so
cannot account for it. What does that mean?
Wasn't that during the previous administration, that clip that was
This is said of late.
Okay.
Now, the point I'm trying to draw here, even with that, even if they want to...
We cannot verify that.
Let me get another evidence. You go to EACC website. The most corrupt ministry in Kenya is Interior, followed by Health. Kindiki was the presiding officer, the highest officer in the Ministry of Interior for 2 years. Now he's the one telling us how DPP's office is independent. Now, why don't we get these people doing the work? Because we cannot just be in the newspaper defending how independent we are. I also know that DPP's office, the statement I like about the whole thing there is that DPP's office cannot be an activist. For them, they have to look at the cases in their own merit. Because I remember also I've ever been taken to a cell, I've been arrested. They sent my accusation to DPP's office. And he refused to confirm the charges. Then I was released because they were baseless. On that point, we enjoy that independence, isn't it? But on the point whereby we have runaway corruption in the country, because he said corruption is the pandemic in Kenya. Corruption is bigger than COVID-19. It's choking the economy. If corruption is a pandemic in a country, then you hear an investigative agency telling you they are independent, then you know that they are furthering corruption. And I want to end with something which I've put a petition, even in Ombudsman office, against the sitting DPP in Gonga. He said in a funeral, in Sakaja's mother's, let's say, memorial, that he is a lawyer. They cannot allow people to roast his own fellow lawyer. He said lawyers are in powerful positions in the country. And he said that if they try to attack Sakaja, even lawyers can do mandamano. I have a clip recorded with evidence. I sent that petition to Ombudsman's office. Now, if you're telling me that such a person is independent, and why do you attend Sakaja's home ceremony? Should those people attend those ceremonies? And if they attend, should they speak? When I go to church, I don't talk in church. I just listen and go away, isn't it? Because I will be conflicted. So according to me, the person in that office has made that office more irrelevant just because of the lack of independence. Because Nairobi has a lot of corruption here with Sakaja. I've seen my brother Bobo Wino trying to bring all the evil in Nairobi County. No one is listening. Auditors report go to Parliament for tabling of all the money stolen. This auditor's report is a document which Fred Ogola has not manufactured.
Okay.
Those documents are there showing clearly where corruption is. Yet they are independent. They are independent until we are robbed of all our future. Yet you continue talking about independence. What's the importance of independence you cannot use to serve Kenyans? Use that office for the best interest of Kenya, not just to preach about your independence.
All right, Mheshimiwa Session, before we go to closing remarks.
I think, let me go to the specifics of the real issues of the DPP's event and the comments of the Deputy President, because those are key. What was it? It was a launch of a strategic plan with 7 key strategic objectives of the ODDP and developed by the independent office of the ODDP, and is touching, number 1, prosecution, performance and quality assurance is a key activity. Number 2, funding resources. Number 3, terms and conditions of service. Number 4, human resource development, because you cannot prosecute if you don't have capacity in terms of human resource and skills and diverse skills within that institution. Interagency collaboration, organizational effectiveness, policy implementation. These are the key strategic objectives of the ODDP. And the Deputy President, who also is a lawyer and a professor of law, said very clearly the executive is committed to upholding the independence of the office of the DPP. That statement alone, ODDP, that statement alone is enough. And from the perspective of governance, what is so wrong when the executive arm of government supports a government institution like ODDP to implement its strategic plan so that it can deliver. So that then we don't weaponize the criminal justice system now and in future like it has been done in the past to punish certain people politically and to ignore the real criminals who ought to be prosecuted, whether it's corruption or other forms of crimes. To me, I think this is a great step. If this country can have a very robust, independent, capacitated ODDP office that is able to sustain and process cases and prosecute them effectively and expeditiously, while on the other hand, you strengthen the independence and operations of the judiciary as you finance them. I think as a country, we are the independent institutions, particularly under Chapter 15, must be made to work so that they can deliver on the very basic rights and freedoms that Kenyans are yearning for. This is a step in the right direction.
All right.
And I think bastardizing it at this stage, we should be able to discuss the 7 strategic objectives rather than bastardizing the entire process. And I think as a country, if we are streamlining governance in all spheres and in all sectors, particularly these institutions, then it's good. This is a welcome move. Let Kenya have an independent ODDP and a very effective, fair, just prosecution process for various crimes, ranging from economic crimes to all other forms of crimes. And I believe going into the future, we should even be able to severely punish economic crimes that are related to corruption, which are undermining the economic growth of this country.
So we are closing in a minute, 30 seconds to each of you for closing remarks. Starting with Mahesh.
From where I sit as a legislator, our work is to legislate. And I think going forward, while the Constitution gives freedom of speech, which we all enjoy, including myself, and I would want to continue enjoying it, I think there's some bit of legislation that has to be done when it comes to freedom of speech, but false speech. I think we are lacking something there, where somebody says something deliberately, knowing that it is false, but trying to achieve an end. We don't mind going with facts and figures and the reality, but the freedom of speech in this country, I think it has reached a level where it is being misused to an extent that is becoming now a threat to the existence of our nation. And this is the country we have. We need to safeguard it. We need to love our country, not to bastardize it on political grounds, we knowing very well that it's not going to help our country, ourselves, and the next generation.
Mine is simply to tell the president that you are a symbol of unity and you are a symbol of stability. All these things that are happening, if you talk about the issue of the not telling the truth or not, starts with you. I want you to look at yourself like a product that needs to be sold to Kenyans and Kenyans need to buy. Should you look like the product you want or the product that Kenyans want? Because people are beginning to have a lot of rejection about what you are saying. But the most important thing is package yourself in a way that Kenyans will buy you and then cascade. Because some people are actually saying that the way Kenya Kwanza looks like, the way they are packaging the president, the way they are talking about the president, even if you want to sell the president anywhere, no one will buy. Hata ukisema 550, hata ukisema 510, hakuna mtu atabuy. So we want you to be packaged in a way that if you are packaged well, people buy. Because I'm sure if you say 510, many people want to buy, as opposed if you say 210. So now if you are 310 na watu wataki, then what should you package yourself? Don't listen to people who are talking about you, because some of them are just, don't care. They just care about their interest. Wakinajo who are now looking, you see the new design defenders with more chest but not head. Let them help you to look better, more electable. Because if Kenyans elect you with this image, then which other government can fail to be elected? Because it is at the worst moment. For example, the product has been rejected in Mount Kenya. The rejection continues across
when
the board.
Professor says we have a CS with more chest and more head, I don't think that is the language that we should.
That is what the cartoon showed. The cartoon showed it. It's not to me. I don't think
that is the kind of discussion.
Cartoon showed it. You can
at this level.
The one
about a CS who is not here.
No, that
should be on the Daily Nation.
And nothing to substance from his that he actually has no head. How does he?
The cartoon has showed Joho with bigger chest than the head. That's what the cartoon has showed. It's a fact. Look at that cartoon. It's not my own making. What I'm trying to say, we need people with more heads now than people with more chest.
Is that what you're talking to?
Yes, that chest is bigger than the head.
And you can't see, but for sure,
but
sure, the size of the head, what does that tell you? Does the size of the head translate into IQ? Does it translate to intelligence? You know, Professor, the kind of arguments that you're advancing, if I'm to look at the size of your head now, should I say that you don't qualify to be a professor because you have a small head? I think we are degenerating this discussion to something that is totally...
Please close for us.
No,
yes, I think we got to be serious for once.
For sure.
For me, I urge Kenyans, don't lose your eye contact on the transformational agenda of this country. And Kenyans have every right to speak out, to question, but in an honest, transparent, and democratic manner. And that the transformation of a country begins with the support of everyone. Those who are criticizing, those who are supporting, but let us appreciate the step-by-steps that we are making as a country. And in the desire to transform a country in a revolutionary manner, we don't need to postpone transformation to another time. The time to transform Kenya is now. And we have seen significant indicators through various targets in the agricultural sector, significant indicators in the MSME, significant indicators in the ICT, significant indicators in housing, which is revolutionary. There will be a big story in this country in the next many years. Significant indicators and results in the UHC. And that is why this year's Jamhuri celebration has got very many activities as a run-up to the same, because we must be a country that speaks to issues, that speaks to activities, and real activities that transform the country. The country should be transformed now for the interest of everyone and for the sake of the entire generation.
Absolutely.
And I think the president is on the right track. Give it to the president, and the president deserves support, while the government deserves also criticism in a fair and just manner. And the church, should let us relate with our God. Whether with whatever we give to the church, we give it to God as politicians. And I think that is one area that needs some serious divine intervention and engagement. Kenyans believe in God, and therefore, when the president gives his donation, he's giving it to God.
To God.
Yes.
Wilson Session, former SG, Kenya National Union of Teachers, as well as former Member of Parliament. Thank you for joining us, sir. Professor Fred Ogola, governance expert, thank you for joining us, as well as Kasim Tandaza, Member of Parliament, Matuga constituency. Gentlemen, thank you for your time and joining us on State of the Nation this morning. And just to remind you, especially to the youth, picking up from where Session has left it on matters Jamhuri Day, there is the introduction of the Jamhuri National Job Fair under the theme Jobs, Labor, Migration, Entrepreneurship and Entertainment, that by bringing together key stakeholders from the government, private sector, civil society and international partners, this fair that is culminating in Jamhuri Day will serve as a catalyst for economic growth, job creation and the empowerment of Kenyan youth. The fair is currently taking place at the Kenyatta International Convention Center, KICC, from today, 5th of December to the 11th of December. Don't miss the opportunity to get insights on employment, grow and establish direct connections with your future employers. The youth should be able to take up this, and we'll also be hearing from various government officials from today all the way to the culmination on the 11th and eventually the 12th. My name is George Maringa, thanking you for your time, company and feedback. I see Festus Mokio saying, watching for the first time and you've loved the conversation. Thank you for always watching, and please keep it TV47 News, the home of untold stories. Up next, is Shiksha Arora. My name is George Maringa. Stay safe and be kind to one another.